The Rubric family, how's every single one of you today on this Saturday, April 25th, 2020? And like every other weekend, we'd like to give you new things, new interviews. And right now, I have the honor to introduce to you one of the most prominent referees in Winnipeg, Canada. We have somebody, from another country in Rubric debuting, Lori Lavis. How are you, Lori?
I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, excellent! I'm doing excellent. I'm so happy that we're gonna be able to be talking to you. We're gonna be talking about like your experiences in wrestling. We're gonna be finding out a little bit about you, of course. So let's start from the beginning. Let's start from like the reason that we're here, and it's professional wrestling. How did Lori was exposed to professional wrestling? What are your first memories of professional wrestling?
It was at a young age. My Uncle Harvey, his father is Moose Morawski. He taught us a bunch of little things when we were younger, like running into walls and stuff like that. I used to trip the teachers out when I would do that because I actually thought I was like literally running into the wall. But I mean, little things, fun.
Yeah, it was good. Like, is that how like? Well, you used to watch it when you were younger and everything? Like, did you watch
Absolutely.
like the product?
Yes,
Yeah, like
absolutely.
what did you
Watched
watch? Like,
WWF, a lot of that when I was younger, just because like my father was a big fan. His favorite wrestler was Chris Benoit. So that just sitting with him and his reactions, he was really great. Like I remember him, he would see a big body slam and then you'll see him jump out of his chair like this. And, it was great stuff. So, and then I got introduced to the independent wrestling scene from River City Wrestling. They had ran shows over at Chalmers Community Club, and I would sneak into those.
oh, that's cool. So like, so you would like to sneak in? Let's say that. Like, you like to do that, Lori. Awesome. So like, when you were growing up, you get exposed to the business and everything. Like, were there any guys that like you look up to that you were like a fan of, or like wrestlers that you were really like, you will say influenced by?
Yeah, definitely. Queen Elizabeth is one. She is amazing. She's soft. She was pretty. She was like that model. She was that princess or that queen that everybody wanted to be. She was just amazing. And then to see her transition into WCW and then her actually be a little bit more vocal and stuff like that, that was really cool. Scary Sherry, another great wrestler. She was amazing. Like her character, she had it bang on. She was crazy. She was intimidating. She was everything that you needed to come across camera, anyways.
That was cool. Like you also mentioned to me, Luna Bashan. You said that she influenced you a little bit also. Yeah.
Uh, I loved her hairstyle, just her craziness. She had the attitude. She had the right, like she was able to wrestle too, right? And there wasn't very many females that were in the spotlight back then that were wrestlers, but she was absolutely great. Then I would say transitioning into the Attitude Era, that would have been Trish Stratus and Lita. They both were like extreme for that generation for wrestling and stuff like that. I loved the fact that Lita was a high flyer, and I loved just Trisha's sass. She definitely
Yeah.
had a lot.
Well, yeah, and also well, Trish being from Canada, also like
Yeah.
that was also very influential, I would say, for you guys. Talking about your country has given us one of the best performers in wrestling history. You mentioned Chris Benoit. For many people, like he's been chastised, or I will say sanitized, for like, a lot of reasons. But we're not going to talk about that. But also, like he gave us Edge, Christian, Bret Hart. It gave us like so many great people that we look up to every single day. So like, did you used to like them? You will be like, let's say, kind of like, do you root for them when you were like watching the product? Because of course they're from Canada. Oh, they're my guys. I gotta make sure they win.
It wasn't necessarily because they were from Canada, because a lot of the times we didn't know that, right? Because what WWE put out, they were from a different state or something like that. So, like to me, they could have been from the States or something like that. Just like Chris Jericho for the longest time, he said, I believe it was New Jersey or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
but you, for example, Bret Hart, he always said he's from Canada, so probably a
Oh,
lot of people like good for him.
Bret Hart was big. Bret Hart was definitely big. The family is like huge out here. So like just, the Hart family themselves, they have built their legacy across Canada that anybody knows them. And if anybody's going traveling and they go out to Calgary, the first place we're going to hit up is the Hart House.
Is the dungeon, right? Like,
Yeah.
is the dungeon and everything? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Have you had the chance to do that or not yet?
I've been outside, but you can't actually go onto the property or inside the place anymore because it was sold to an orphanage.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Yeah.
okay. I see that's a little different, but see, like, you've been exposed to that. Lori, now tell me about, like, before we get to, like, you did a lot of, I will say, charity work. You, like, help out a lot of organizations. You have great stories on that. How does
Yeah.
Lori, the person, decides to, like, start in professional wrestling? How did you decide, like, hey, I want to see if I can try this. You want to make something out of this?
It was Comic-Con. Definitely. That was my big influence there. Ted DiBiase, going with my brother. He kind of fangirled, and Ted DiBiase was kind of winking at me. So I like to sit there and say that he kind of sprinkled wrestling magic all over me.
Did he do the laugh?
Yeah, definitely. And then there was Virgil there. I believe that there was Angelina Love, and then there was an independent company. I'm not sure which company was running at the time.
Oh, cool. And so, like, you mentioned that, like, Teddy Biasi, and then he recognized you or something, and then, because you were with your brothers, I remember, or something like that.
Yeah, but I was kind of quiet and in the background. So, like, my brothers, they were, like, asking him a whole bunch of questions, but he was kind of, like, overlooking them and then winking and stuff. So, like, just acknowledging that I was there. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and then what happens? And then, like, you decide to go to, like, a wrestling, like, event. How did that, like,
I ran into Bobby Collins, and Bobby Collins, he's known as the Rebel Bobby Collins here. He ended up, he was set up at a table. He was selling his merch and stuff like that. And I went up to him and I'm like, do you remember me? And he was all like, huh? Who are you? Like, and me not realizing in the moment until I got home, I had face makeup on. I was dressed up as Harley Quinn. So there was absolutely no way he was going to recognize me because I did like this crow kind of gimmick with the Joker type thing to kind of like, do my own thing with Harley. And I asked him if Caveman Baroda was still alive, and he ended up telling me that he was. And to go back on that story, I ran into him a few times over the years when I was growing up. I asked him, where's Caveman Baroda? And he kept on telling me Caveman Baroda was dead. So that's when I found out Caveman was still alive. And I ended up reconnecting with Caveman Baroda, and we started up our own promotion, CWA, Canadian Wrestling Association, Caveman's World Amplified.
Oh, wow. That's really great. That's really great. And so then I think you did ballet you were the ballet for a little bit. Tell me that story, like, because there's a really great story and you provided great footage on that because, like, you were on a leash. You were on a leash. Like, so tell me that whole story.
Okay, so what ended up happening is my pops ended up deciding that he was going to gamble me and the company away without my permission. So, like Bobby Collins, he ended up putting out that open call to my pops and challenging my pops, and he ended up accepting it. He lost, which I ended up getting grabbed by the hair and like kind of thrown over the top rope, and they collared me and they put the leash on me. And from that point on, I was fed dog food, put in a cage. I was, taken out for walks, which the walks weren't so bad because it was his son, and his son's pretty good looking. That was the one that was taking me for those walks. So I was always like, that was like a highlight for me.
That was good, right? That was at least. And then you said that, like, they were feeding you, like, dog food for a little bit, but then it turned out to be steak, right?
So, yeah, because eventually I started listening, right? I learned.
Well, because of that guy, like, you started behaving, right?
Great. Just do what they say and do what they want, and I'll eventually get that steak dinner. And plus, Bobby Collins' wife, she was a sweetheart. She would always, like, slide me in plates of food when they weren't, like, looking, so I wasn't starving.
Oh, awesome. That's great, Lord. So then, you have your first, like, I would say, tries with professional wrestling. Then, how, like, the opportunity of becoming a ref came? How did you become a referee?
I ended up going on tour with CWE, and we traveled across Canada, which I might add, if you ever want to check out what Canadian wrestling is like, you should
Yes.
definitely watch Ring Warriors from CBC Canada. They have a nice documentary, and it like explains exactly what we did on the road and stuff like that. And that one actually has Jake the Snake featured in it.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, no, it's really awesome. It's really great. But I ended up being merch girl for CWE, and there was this other referee. He ended up getting, I guess, quitting on tour because ACH from Ring of Honor, he ended up calling out the referee for some shady things, and he did not like that, the referee. So he ended up quitting, and we left him in Calgary. From there, I guess at the next stop when we were in the town, they asked me if I could ref, and I was like, I've never refed before, so I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know. They're like, it's okay. We'll explain everything to you. So I got a pep talk from AJ Sanchez. There was Chase Owens. There was Matt, the Bruiser from Boston Bruiser from Ring of Honor, Silas Young tag team partner. And then, I had a pair of winter boots, and they were ugly brown boots. I was like, well, I can't really wear this in the ring. Can I go barefoot, or can I just like wear my socks or whatever? They're like, no, that's not professional whatsoever. You need to find a pair of shoes. So I ended up taking a pair of shoes from a fan.
And that's how you do it. And then tell me, like, walk me through like your Fergus experience. Like you're calling the match. How did that fall? How did that feel for you? Like, and in the end, you do 1, 2, 3 winner. How was that the whole thing for you?
My adrenaline was going. I was nervous. I was, like excited at the same time. It was amazing because like once I got into the ring, everything else disappeared. Right. So that was probably the best part for me because I didn't have to, like, I didn't see the audience. I just kind of was paying attention to what was going on in the ring. And the rest is history from that point. I kind of fell in love with reffing, and now I want to continue doing it.
Awesome. Yeah. Like, tell me, like, now your toughest call. Like, your toughest call that you had to do. Tell me, like, walk me through that memory. Your toughest call as a referee. The whole situation.
I would have to say my toughest call was the fans themselves. They weren't too impressed with the tag team champions over at PCW, the company that I currently work for with Andrew Shellcross. They ended up losing their tag team titles. They wanted, like, the fans weren't happy. So I still get booed now to this day when, I go out there. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, when I make a call, I'm sorry, like that's my call. I'm going to keep it. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you're a wrestler and you're bigger than me and you can beat me up. Honestly, a call is a call. If you don't like it, kick out.
Yes. I like that. I like that. Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome, Lori. So, but like, do you like being the face, like a baby face rep, or do you like being a heel? What likes your preference? What do you enjoy the most?
I'm very neutral. I don't want to sit there and say that, like I'm very heely or very facey because I'm neither of them. But I kind of like walk a balance, but I do expect authority. I want you guys to listen to me. Like, I'm not going to play around in that sense. So if you screw up, then I'm not going to be your best friend and like baby you. Oh, poor baby. No, it's not going to happen. Like, you guys chose to be wrestlers, right? So
well, like, you're the authority. They gotta follow what you have to say and everything. So that takes me to like, do you help talent sometimes? Like, meaning, like, for example, you help with the flow of the match and everything. Like, because the ref is pretty much another person that helps the whole thing put together.
Oh, definitely. Like, as a referee, if we're the ones that keep that flow with time and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, if you only got like 10 minutes left to a show, then a match, right, is going on and they're over that 10 minutes, other people, I have to be the one making the calls. If I'm not there making the calls, the wrestlers will continue doing things that, like they're not supposed to be doing, or they will end up just losing track of time altogether.
Yeah, well, then and see, we were talking with this with like Paul and everything. For the ones that like don't know where Paul is, we just had some technical difficulties. But Lori is such a sweetheart that she's given her a little bit of her time also to redo this. But like, there's an audio version that is gonna come out with a whole interview, so you're gonna have Lori twice, for our fans. So Lori, like we were telling about like less is more. And like, you said you agreed to that? Like, why is that? Like, because you were mentioning about nowadays like is more like 10 spots in like 5 minutes, like the wrestlers don't know how to pace themselves. So walk me through that a little bit.
Well, okay, less is more just because of the fact that, like, simplicity at its best, right? But there's like, I find with a lot of the new wrestlers, there's a lot of them that are trying to do those high spots, or they want to get so many spots in and it's too soon, right? So you're taking away from the bigger matches at the end, especially the main events, semi events, and stuff like that. That's where you need the crowd to be like really excited and stuff like that. But if you're doing all those high spots right at the beginning of the show, you're not going to get any of that at the end of the show because they're going to be like, okay, we just watched all that, like, so it's not like so interesting or anything like that. But I also find that when you do so many spots in, like, say, a minute, matter of 5 minutes, right? And you got like 10 really high spots or something like that. Maybe one of those spots was amazing, right? And then the rest of them is shit. The fans aren't going to remember that one amazing spot. They're going to remember the shit, right?
Yeah,
And then
you're right.
like you're going to beat yourself up for that too.
Yeah, you're right. Like, so like you also like held them out in those regards, correct? You will be like, hey, don't overdo yourself, don't try to impress anybody, just do your stuff that you can execute it the best, and then you move on to other things once you master all of that. So good
Yeah.
stuff on that, like Lori. So like take me like your take on the current product. Like I know, do you watch WWE? Do you watch NXT, AEW? Like what's your take on it, and what's the promotion that you watch the most?
Okay, well, everybody watches, WWE. That's like, a given. AEW or AWE, they're relatively new, but I like what they have. I like their product because they're not so flashy and it's more about the wrestling and stuff like that. And that to me is huge because it kind of brings you back to the aspects of the independent wrestling and stuff like that and gives you more of that vibe, and you just connect better with the fans themselves, right? Where Vince, he's amazing. The way his brain works, it's really crazy. You probably would never want to live up there, but I mean, there's a method to his madness. He's been doing this for so many years and it's worked, and he's on the top, right? So I mean, he's not doing anything wrong, and I can't say anything bad about that. But I know that we might not always agree with him, and I know that I might not like what he does, but my opinion in this case doesn't matter because it's his product.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But like, for example, you do watch NXT. Do you think that, for example, see, NXT is more Triple H. NXT is
Yeah,
just Triple H 90%. Do you think it's better than the main roster?
I like that NXT, how they have it's really good exposure for the ones that are trying to come out to get to WWE status and stuff like that. So we're becoming more familiar with the independent pro
Independent
wrestling
guys. Yeah, the guys
roster,
that want
right?
an opportunity. Yeah.
So these are the guys that are hungry for that spot, right? And to me, it's like almost like a competition for them to get to the WWE. That's the final reward, right? So I think that's a great idea for under company, right? So
Oh yeah.
that's pretty much you got all your.
Excellent. Yeah, I will definitely see that. And now you talk to me. We're talking about independent scene, and you love that, and that's where you thrive, Lori. So tell me about, you talked to me in the previous interview. You said about like a lot of independent guys that you want to see them like getting to the next level. Tell me a little bit about those guys that you mentioned before.
Yeah, there's this kid
You
right
said
now.
Josh, one of them. You mentioned Josh.
Yeah, so his name is Josh, but we know him in ring as Roy Cheeks. He is really great. Like, I saw him train ever since he was 15. He was training in my backyard. His trainer is AJ Sanchez, and he's doing really amazing with Josh. But Josh has the heart. He's got the determination. He's got the expectancy to go really far. So I would really like to see that kid on maybe WWE or AWE or something like that in the future, because I think he has what it takes.
Yeah, and I agree with you because like you like as a rep, like I said, you can see things. You can see like who
Yeah.
has potential, like you said, then you actually develop an eye for them. Now, when you see them, how they execute themselves, how they carry themselves, and you even talk to me about the importance of like character development. So walk me
Yeah.
through that, like from your eyes, like why is character development so important in wrestling right now?
Creativity. It's the costumes that they wear. They know who they are. They're confident with who they are. Like the way they think, the way that they act, what they're gonna do. Even like something as great as like walking through those curtains when they go to announce who's going to be, as soon as that music starts playing, the crowd gets all excited just because of that one character that's come burst through those curtains. And there's that I guess that not apprehension, but there's
The emotion, the excitement, right? Like you will say, like the nervousness. You will say, like, well, all of those emotions are one. The adrenaline. There you go. The
yeah.
adrenaline rush.
Oh, absolutely. And like that's what the fans they feed off of that stuff, right? They want to see you burst through those curtains. They want to hate you. They want to love you. So I mean, fans are great. Keep heckling us. Like you guys are the best when it comes to those heckles. Like some of those heckles make my day.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, and this is so important nowadays for that. For example, now tell me about Audrey Edwards. Audrey Edwards is like one of the main referees on AEW. So she's
Yeah,
pretty
she's
much setting
great.
the mold, the format for like all of you guys. Like there are like upcomers, and like that could be potentially you in like a few years.
Yeah, no, definitely she's my favorite. She actually gets it. She's pretty much what we want to strive to be. Her emotions, her reactions, the flow, she understands all of it. So this when you're watching her in a match, it comes across really well on television, and it's not boring or sticky or like just somebody standing there in position, because like in the 1980s and stuff like that, they used to hold the ropes when they would walk, right, from corner to corner and things like that. We don't do that anymore. So we kind of post ourselves in the corners and stuff like that, and then come in when we're needed and stuff, to make our calls. She understands all that, and her emotion, just, I don't know, I love it. I love it.
It's and also like she's setting up like a new generations of female referees that are main eventing like male matches. So that is something like I was breaking and outstanding. It's so
Yeah.
breakthrough for like a lot of you girls that are trying to break in the business in a big way. And Audrey Edwards, I think she's carrying the flag for that. So very,
Oh,
very
definitely.
good on that. So now tell me, like, see, how long did it take you to become comfortable in the position of being a ref? How long, how many
um
matches, how long it was? Who did you get
I would
advice from?
say that even I still get nervous to this day with certain calls that I've made, like, oh, did I make the right call in that moment? But I would say that it took me at least a good couple of years to get used to, from my earlier years to now, where I'm more consistent with shows that I'm working and stuff like that. And the more shows that I work, I'm getting a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident. And I don't know, I like the vibe that I get, and the locker room, they're great. And work with a bunch of great guys. So, I mean, like, I'm very grateful for the opportunity that they all put out for me.
Yeah, it's good because see, like all these guys are gonna give you more like their input. You told me though that they don't really put you like they don't really give you like bad feedback. I will say that they mostly is good, so I gotta give you props on that. But you say you
Yeah.
wanted a little bit of a, like if you're doing something wrong, can let me know so I can improve it.
Yes,
You were
absolutely. And sometimes they don't, right? And it's like, well, no, you got to tell me when I'm doing shit, because, like, if I'm doing shitty, I need to be able to watch it and be able to correct it, and I want to know how to correct it. So, they're the only thing that they ever complain about is getting more regular with my counts, so I can find my rhythm. Other than that, there hasn't been any complaints.
And then, for example, so you mentioned the counts. Walk me through that. What are they? What do they mean by that? You just gotta like keep the same motion. Is that what they want,
Yeah,
or the same flow,
yeah.
or like just like
I mean,
oh
you can't. No, it can't be like that, because then that's just not being fair, right? Then
yes,
maybe I'm
yes,
just a little dirty at that point. It's got to
yes.
be like the whole motion, right? So it's
The
like you got
whole
to get
yeah,
that.
the whole wave, yeah, the whole motion. The whole okay. Good, yeah, excellent, excellent, Lori. Now, tell me a little bit about like the promotion that you work for is also like where Kenny Omega started, right?
Oh,
If I'm not mistaken. So walk me through like this thing, like the Kenny Omega, like everybody probably looks up to him, you know, knowing that pretty much nowadays he's the best wrestler in the world. So
yeah.
how do you guys feel? And you said that like before the pandemic, like there was a big chance that he could have been showing up for the anniversary of the show.
Yes, it was our 18th anniversary show, and I was hoping that he was going to be there. Like, I don't know if he was actually going to be there, but that's typically the shows that he ends up showing up at are the anniversary ones. Because PCW is the company that he started off with in Winnipeg here, and he's been pretty loyal to them throughout the years and everything like that. But there's like so much that like I could learn from him. He's a humble man. Documentaries that I've seen with him and stuff like that, I just want to learn from him. Like there's so much that I could sit there and I can ask him, just being able to work. I might end up like, geeking out myself for a few moments. I might have a moment, but I mean, like, that's just because he's great, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, for example, like Laura, you even said that you went to the same high school, right?
Yes, we went to junior high, the same junior high. I'm not sure if it was the same year. I believe he might be a year or two older than me, but we did go to the same school. The counselors over at that school, I actually did an assembly for anti-bullying and just to talk to the kids and stuff like that. The grade seveners there, and they ended up. They were asking me, can Kenny Omega come and, do an assembly with us? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Anything's possible, like just have to talk to him, have to meet him first, though. But
well, they have to get his confidence, gotta get comfortable with him, and then maybe get an interview with the Kenny Omega. That will be nice. Don't forget about us also, please. If you can give us an interview, that will be extremely nice from Kenny Omega. So now,
guys.
Yeah, well, like I hope that he watches. He watches a fellow, let's say a classmate, or at least the same high school and everything. So, Lori, walk me through now. I want to know because you talk about something really great that you do. That is put wrestling and community work together. You have done a lot of things, you're kind of like in without a title, like a Make-A-Wish. Let's say that, and like a Make-A-Wish because you have helped out so many people. Walk me through all those things.
When I started my company, I do my shows for paying it forward. It doesn't matter what it is. It's really helping out like just the community in general. And one of the biggest things is I donated 50% of my profits that I would make from a show towards a family to help them with medical expenses, or just like a team like the Winnipeg 76ers with equipment if they needed, or tickets to fly out to their next competition that might have been out in Alberta or something like that. They were really fun to play with rugby. Then there was a girl named Alexa. She was my very first show. She needed a liver transplant. She didn't have a gallbladder. She was born without a gallbladder, and which her liver was dying because of that. 6 months after we did our show, she ended up getting that liver transplant, and we were able to welcome her back for a Halloween show. And she ended up doing actually a performance for us. She sang for us. She's doing really good now. Like, she's a beautiful young lady. I'm super proud of her. She's just, she's done so many amazing things throughout the years that, I'm really happy for her. Then there was a boy named Gabriel. He had also leukemia. He ended up going into remission too. So that's really great to hear and stuff like that. And we were able to help his dad out with just, something as simple as parking expenses and traveling expenses, because they lived in a town outside of the city. So every time that they came out here for treatment, they needed a place to stay. They needed, parking, things like that around hospitals can be crazy because they charge a lot of money for those parking passes and things like that, that it was just extra help, right? The Bear Clan, that would be one of my favorite shows. We did a quilt. We brought it across Manitoba to different festivals and things like that throughout the summer. So then by the time that we had the show in September, we ended up raising over $2,000 for them. with this quilt. And these guys are absolutely amazing. They go around the community. They, help with murdered and missing women. They help with drugs that they find out on the streets, weapons, things like that, gang members. If there's like some crack house or something like that and the kids run away and they're in that house, they're the ones that we call, not the police, because they'll go into that place and they'll get our kids for us, right? And they have such an outstanding respect in the community that people don't really fight with them about anything. They actually
that's so nice though. Like Lori, like that's the one of the things that like outside, let's take away the wrestling and everything. Wrestling is an entertainment, but see what you're doing is so influential, it's so positive. You're trying to be a positive member in the society, and you're using something that like people might think is just professional wrestling. It's just sport. It's just something like most people won't even put two and two together. But the way you're doing it is like through the wrestling, you're saving lives. So I want to congratulate you on that, and all the respect and admiration for using something and then making something even more positive for your talents and what you're giving. So that's awesome, and I hope that you can keep doing that, because you probably can be using that for like so many people, so many cases that you probably encounter, because you probably are exposed to so many people. So I really like that.
So many amazing people over, like, what I mean? Like, I ended up playing wheelchair rugby with the wheelchair rugby team, the Winnipeg 76ers, which I never thought I would do. And they actually just invited me to come back as soon as this pandemic is over. And I'm definitely down to play with you guys again during one of your practices, because I had like absolute blast. It's the best feeling. It's not as simple as people think. It's really complicated. And I mean, these guys are great. Like, if you get hit by one of those wheelchairs coming at you from playing like rugby or something like that, it feels like a freight train. I could swear I probably would have gotten a concussion, because like they hit you, you flash, right? Even though they're not actually hitting you. Yeah.
Wow. Like, and then that takes me to, like, for example, we know the wrestlers have to go to like training and everything, and they train everywhere. They worked out every single day. Do you do the same thing, like being a referee? What's like your like workout, like your schedule, or what do you do?
I have a hired trainer, and she actually put out a training regimen for me. And I mean, like, I don't know if you can see that one, but this is what I'm doing.
That one looks a lot better. Yep, that one looks better. Yep.
That's what I'm doing right now. It's my strength training. No cardio. That's this week or whatever. She does checkups with me very often, and I want to make sure I'm in frame. And yeah, so I mean, like, we talk daily, me and her, and then she's amazing. She's helping me build my butt, because I don't want to be that skinny twig in the ring, definitely, just because it's not so appealing, right? But yeah, she's amazing. I call her my fairy gym mother. So Jenna, thank you so much.
There's the shadow for her, and like, and we've seen the pictures, and it's it doesn't look like that. The way you describe it's getting good and good, better and better. Yeah. So you allow me to say that. So Lori, tell me like your dream match, meaning as a referee. Who would you like to like ref a match from, like, males, guys, and also like girls? What will be your dream match? And name the pay-per-view.
Okay, Edge and Christian. Right, definitely, just because I think that there would be just the chemistry that they have, like, they're best friends, right? So for them to go at a match and stuff like that, that would be mind-blowing, because, like, I'm sorry, if my best friend came at me and we were both wrestlers and they went to go do a move, I'm sorry, I know what you're going to do. You're not doing that, right?
Yes, you're able to, like, scout them. You're going to know what they do. Yeah, you know them, yes. So, like, right. What will be the event? What will be the pay-per-view, or like, what will be the place? Will you say like a WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series?
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. SummerSlam. I want to be okay. Good.
Yeah.
And now for the girls.
For the girls, it would be Asuka and Bayley. Just because I think Asuka is definitely the one that needs to teach Bayley, because Bayley was, such a good two shoes for the longest time. Now that she's got this attitude, she needs that attitude check, and I think Asuka's the right one to do it.
Okay, yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to see you like doing that. I will be like, hey, I know that ref. That's awesome. I would really like pop for that to see you doing that. So like, what would be your goals then? Like, would you like to work with WWE? Would you like to do AEW? Would you like to do maybe Mexico? You mentioned that, or like Japan? Or you want to travel to other places?
Well,
Like that
travel.
will
I
be.
definitely want to travel. So I'm in the process right now of working on getting my passport and stuff like that. So hopefully that will all be sorted as soon as this COVID's done. Just because I guess there's a delay now with all that. Other than that, like I want to go to the States, I want to go to Mexico, I want to go to Puerto Rico, I want to go to New Japan, I want to go to Britain, even like Scotland and stuff like that, just because I think the experience and the different styles and types of way that things are ran, I can learn a lot from those different genres of
Yeah,
wrestling.
it is.
So
Yeah, it will be something great for you because you'll be able to learn so many styles. Maybe
yes,
WWE do their style one like some kind of set. Then the AEW could do sometimes something different, and then New Japan and like let's say Puerto Rico, let's say what Europe, they can do something in a different manner, and you'll be able to learn all those styles. So that will make you so like the ability to adapt anywhere you go. So that will
yes,
help like extremely to do that. So now, like you said, like you're a big fan of Becky Lynch too. I remember that. They said you enjoy the men's character. Like, what do you
yes.
think is like the influence now? What do you think the perception of the women in the wrestling world now? Because being from like the member,
A lot of women feel that they need to measure up to what a man would, right? Like Becky Lynch, she has, I guess, her character being the man, right? That's who she identifies with. So, I mean, a lot of females, they can relate, right? They want to be able to be recognized to be just as good or as popular as your everyday man wrestling.
yeah, yeah, but like,
That's
but for example, do you see now that like there's more respect towards the women? For example, especially for you
oh
being the referee, and now like for example, remember going to the days the bros and panties, all of that, like like the bathroom break will be the women's match. Now like there's more respect. You will think like the
definitely,
women actually headline the shows.
and it's more wrestling, right? So you don't really have too many valets or anything like that anymore. So or even like female referees, like Edwards is the one that's like breaking or paving the way for us right now for that. But I believe that the females, like the female, they have gone through so much throughout the years. Like you have Queen Elizabeth, right, and Scary Sherry. They started it all for us,
Yes,
and then
pretty
it
much.
kind of grew into like the Trish Stratus and there
Lita.
was Lita and all. Then in the Attitude Era, which took a different angle, there was the bra and panties, but they were like getting that whole recognition, like, look, we can still wrestle even if it is in our bra and panties, whatever. Now they've toned that down, and females are more into the character, and it's like being done exactly how the men do it, where I mean, they measure up. That's all I can say is that females measure up, and if people doubt, they're probably going to overcome and
Oh yeah.
even like even rise higher.
Absolutely, Lori. So now I have a video that you sent me. I have a drill that you had with Balbinus. You have a
Yeah.
seminar with him. So walk me through it. How was that? Because it's like it didn't come out too well for you, I guess. But like, walk me through it, please.
We're listening to him, and I'm definitely going to sit there and say that if you want to know what he said during the seminar, you're going to have to pay to go see one of those seminars. It's absolutely worth your money. Don't miss out. But yeah, I was, standing on the outside of the ropes while he was talking about like, running ropes, things like that. And then out of nowhere, he starts hitting those ropes. He ran and he hit the rope that I was kind of leaning on, and I wasn't actually holding on to it or anything like that. And I went flying back. I would say it was probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 feet. Took the back bump, got up, shook myself up, almost ended up hitting my head on the stage. Like I came half an inch from like hitting and everybody's reaction, especially Tyler Colton's reaction, is golden. Like that probably made that video, especially like for what it is and why I love it so much.
Wow, yeah, but and then you told me something about like a DDT. Somebody did a DDT on your foot because you were knocked down. Like, how was that? Like, just walk me through that. Like, that was probably the
Okay.
worst bump that you had, you could say?
Yeah, it hurt quite a bit. I definitely got knocked out from ATM. He betrayed his best friend, Rob Royce, and decided that he was going to DDT him while I was knocked out on the ground on my foot. And I ended up like, yeah, it hurt for a very long time afterwards. But thankfully, by the time the next show, I was okay.
Good, good. Like, yeah, like we don't want you to miss any shows, Lori. I don't want to ever like see you not missing shows. So like now, like walk me through a little bit of like Lori, the person outside of the ring. You know, what is Lori outside of the ring? What is your hobbies? What kind of music do you like? What do you do?
I definitely like rock and alternative rock, right? Like metal, definitely. I'm very much that grunge type of girl, but I end up I love painting. I love reading books and stuff like that, which I'm currently reading the Overdrive series from the Outlaw Adam Knight. He is a wrestler actually in my company that I'm working for, PCW, but he's traveled in the States and he's been to Japan and stuff like that. And he's just great. He's got a brilliant mind. He knows what he's doing, like in the ring and stuff like that. That like I absolutely adore him and look up to him in a lot of ways. Then yeah, I guess I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I have 7 sons. Yeah, all boys.
All boys. All boys.
All boys. All
wow.
boys. Yeah.
Wow.
My oldest is 22, and my youngest is 3.
Wow, so. Like how did you manage that, Laura? You can like all sons, all males. That's interesting. I guess girls were not meant for you.
No, definitely not. My husband ended up shooting blanks when it came down to it. My dad always laughed and he would joke around and stuff like that before he passed on. He ended up saying that about my husband, and my dad ended up being right. Like, I was never meant to have a girl, and I'm okay with that. I'm not trying anymore. But yeah, so I mean, like, my kids, I stay at home, I teach them homeschooling and stuff like that, and then
you say you were thinking about like just continue the homeschooling because you told us that this was the best time of your life, you know, because you got the time to be with them, like teach them, learn from them. It's like that mother and son like time that you need.
I learn with them. We get to explore the city. I get to teach them what I want to teach. They don't exactly teach long division or cursive writing in schools and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that we would have learned when we were younger. They don't teach anymore. I want my kids to know that stuff. You might like, I guess they find that it's not important now, but to me, it's still important. And plus, like, there's my culture. I can kind of like, you know, wiggle some of that into their lessons and kind of have control over that and still keep it pretty.
Yeah, well, like what was your descendants? What's your offspring? You mentioned that in the other interview.
I'm Métis, which is an offspring of the first settlers, French settlers. Some of them were Scottish and stuff, with the native tribes, the Aboriginal tribes.
There you go. Awesome. I see. Like, I really think that like if you now that you have the time, you can enjoy your kids also because like being on the road or like being doing shows, you probably don't get to see them as much as you want to. You will want.
No, definitely not. When I was on the road, even like sometimes video calling with them was absolutely hard to do, especially keeping, you know, times with their bedtime schedules and stuff like that. Because like when we were traveling, we would get to a town and we would be there. It's like pretty much time to set up, and then the doors were open, so there was no me time, right? And then after the parties, like the after parties and stuff like that, by the time we got to the hotel, I just want to sleep. I didn't even get to see the town or anything like that, really, right? So
it's town, and then you know it's sleep, and next town. Yeah, life on the road can be really hard for you.
It's very repetitive.
Tell me your best memory and your worst memory in all the years with professional wrestling.
My best memory would have to be when Vinnie Valiant ended up putting up the red dress at the show, because that red dress represented the murdered and missing Indigenous woman. And it's a big piece of my heart just because, like, you know, like my heart goes out to those families and stuff like that. So when Vinny went and put that up, just the crowd, the energy that we got, just from them seeing that and what it meant to everybody in the community, it was really huge. My worst moment was when I made a call and Chase Owens ended up not liking that. So he kind of got mad about it and he could kind of get mean. So that would probably be my worst one.
Your worst one? Okay, well, but see, like you, that like anything in life.
I have to sit there and say, I didn't mention this before. Like, Chase Owens is honestly a really great and amazing guy. When we ended up being on tour, somebody stole my baby's clothes because I took my baby Snow on tour with me. It was middle of winter. It was Chase Owens and it was Shane Saber who ended up stepping up to the plate. They ended up giving me money just so I can buy Snow some clothes for the remainder of the tour and I didn't have to leave.
And see, that's the one thing that like and people don't know about wrestling is the families, the relationships that you make. You know, those people that you travel with day in, day out, they become your family. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
things that you can always say that like wrestling can be hard, like you can only make a certain amount of friends, but like you see like the indies is actually the opposite. You make more friends than like you always like part of something like a family.
A love relationship, right? Like you're gonna argue with your significant other, or whatever, but or your brother or your sister, but you guys still love each other at the end of the day, right? And you guys still get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely. So, Lori, now, you know, I want you to give you the floor for, you know, you say hi to all your friends, anybody that you want to shout out, anybody that you want to say something, and also I want your advice for anybody. You know, like anything you want to say to everybody that's going to be watching this video. The floor is absolutely yours.
Okay, well, I'm going to shout out Emerson Pritchard. I'm going to have to say, give a shout out to Andrew Shellcross. Thank you for the opportunities that you continue to give me. And then I'm going to have to give a shout out to, I guess, Travis Cole, Tasty Travis, because Tasty is tasty and he's my best friend. And then, I don't know, like there's so many great people out there in the wrestling world. Mentalo, definitely. Hi, Mentalo. Huge, huge, huge. I look up to that guy a lot. Advice, I'll go to him or I'd go to Adam Knight. Adam Knight, thanks, bud. And then I guess the message that I want to like sit there and throw out there would be turning your negatives into positives because things, they're not always going to be bad or anything like that. They turn around. So you just got to turn it around and be happy. Don't care what anybody else thinks about you because I'm sorry, like their opinions don't matter at the end of the day. As long as you can live with yourself, that's what matters. Right?
Absolutely.
So
That's great advice. That's great advice, Lori. And I think that sums it up for. And unless you like always, I do this questionnaire. That's the last question. It's a question that you would like me to ask you. There you go. Anything that comes to mind. And I asked you that before, so I gave you plenty of time this time.
yeah, I know. I think I added something in there like that I didn't already about with a few other things, but I guess I love wrestling so much that I just can't wait for it to come back. And, like if this coronavirus doesn't go away anytime soon, I think that I'm just going to end up starting to live film my boys here at home and just referee them.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, for example, any of your kids have shown any interest in on like wrestling, or
my youngest ones do. My three youngest, Justice, Archer, and Snow. My three oldest don't want anything to do with it.
okay, so like you're going, but like, would you be supportive of the three ones that like want to be wrestlers? Like, you will be like,
Oh,
for sure.
Definitely. Like I always encourage it. Snow, he's been there ever since he was a baby on the road. Like when I was pregnant, you actually see some pictures there that he's going to show you where I'm wearing a green dress. I'm actually pregnant with
See,
Snow
there you
there.
go. So like, he's being like Paige, like he was pretty much born in the business. Pretty much,
Yes.
he was exposed
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
business.
He went on tour with me. He ended up like he was the youngest baby. He was only a few weeks old when he went on tour with us across Canada. So then my son Archer, he's absolutely obsessed with wrestling. There is no shut off with him whatsoever. So I mean, with his studies, with homeschooling, I use wrestlers to teach him because that's how we get things done, right? So
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned on the other interview also that like you kind of always like being a referee, you kind of play like the mom figure. because wrestlers
Oh,
can be pricks too, can be, like kind of kids. They're like bigger kids pretty much.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like if they need me to mom them, I'm gonna mom them. I'm
Um,
sorry. Like if you're stupid, I'm gonna mom you. It just kind of happens. It comes out naturally. I can't help it. But it's very similar. Like me raising my 7 sons was exactly how, like me walking into a wrestling company. The guys, they some of them can be childish, some of them are really, reserved or whatever. But I mean, like you got so many different mixed personalities that sometimes you just need a mom.
Absolutely. Well, Laurie, I think this sums it up for us. I want to thank you for your time twice. So I will mention that, like, you have been such a great person. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I'm pretty sure that was not, easy for you. But again, your time is so valuable for us. All your experience and everything. From now on, you've been part of the Robrick family. Thank you for believing in us. And we'll just be talking soon with you, because we stay in touch. And I would thank you again to all the Robrick family that has been watching. Everybody that's going to be watching Lori, you remember, you're going to have two videos. You're going to have the audio with the first interview, and you're going to have video and right there, flesh with Lori, talking about all professional wrestling. So thank you so much, family, and we'll be back with you guys soon. Thank you for everybody to subscribe. So the green is to Jean Paul Egg also. So in the name of Lori and myself, we both want to say,